my friends. I'm so excited. Dr. Priyanka Venugopal was one of the first people when I put a request out for my physician colleagues to come on the podcast to talk about whatever they're passionate about, what services they offer, what they specialize in. Dr. Priyanka was one of the first ones to jump on and say, I am here. I want to talk about our inner critic. I want to help your audience learn to love themselves and heal themselves from the inside out. And I am so grateful that you're here. Dr. Priyanka Venugopal is a board certified OBGYN and founder of the Unstoppable Mom Brain. She's a fellow Jersey girl, and I love her already. Thank you so much for being here.
It's fellow Jersey girls all the way. Love it. I'm so thrilled to be here. This is awesome.
Not only fellow Jersey girl, but fellow 609er, which is like a special breed of people.
So good. It's so fun. When I saw your post, I think, and especially knowing the women that you serve, and this lights me up every single time. If the working woman can really get just a moment to see what is available to her, it is priceless. And so any opportunity that I have to speak to the working woman it lights me up every single time.
Well, you describe yourself as a ninja mama.
I do. Yeah.
You are a working woman. You wear all the hats, and yet you find time in your life and your busy schedule to help other women learn to thrive and learn to battle that inner critic that is limiting us from fulfilling our potential, from reaching our goals, and from ultimately being happy and healthy. And so I adore the work that you are doing, because it seems so overlooked, but it is so critical. And so first of all, just tell us kind of how you got into this work, from being an OBGYN to now coaching women, and help us understand what it means to have an inner critic and how to heal it.
Yeah. I think that for me, I think that I am probably like many of your listeners, just working mom, going to work, very dedicated to my patients and the work that I was doing. I love like all of the work that I was doing. But that being said, something felt just a little lacking. And on paper, everything looks awesome. So I don't really have anything to complain about yet when it comes to my thoughts about myself. And for me, it was my body being at 200 pounds. I had just had my second child. I just felt like something was not enough. And really, I think a lot of my work started with me realizing that there is more available for me. I don't ever have to hold on to that belief, which I probably had in some shape or form since a very young age. I think that this is really where our inner critic is born. She's born from our very, very youngest years. And she's cultivated over years and decades, and she's influenced by our family and our peers and our work life. And, I think that there is a lot of space that she needs to be healed. And really my work was discovering that there's a way to do that.
I love how you describe our inner critic as she, like it's another person who has kind of invaded our thoughts. And from a young age, there are so many inputs into our development of this other mindset that we can't control, especially as a mom with young daughters and a young son. You try to control their environment, what they're exposed to and what they see and hear, and give them the tools to deal with that. And you can only do that really for so long. Until they're kind of formulating their own thoughts and their inner critic is already well developed.
That's right.
We have talked a lot on this show about the stress response system and activation of the stress system. And specifically the internal stressors. Namely our inner critic, those shoulda, woulda, coulda thoughts that develop at that young age, the negative self-talk, the low self-esteem, the low confidence levels that are all internal stressors that activate our stress response and can make us sick or prevent us from being well.
Right.
And so I would love to know how you kind of identify the inner critic. How do you come to know her so that you can combat and heal and recover and get rid of her?
I think that I like to think about, for most women, the inner critic is just your inner monologue. It's just the inner voice, your reflexive, like the way that you're speaking in your mind. And the way that she's speaking is often from a place of the not enough, like I need to be doing more, this is not good enough, I could be doing it faster, better, stronger. And what that does is it activates our primitive brain, our nervous system. And I think that what we end up operating in, especially working moms who are juggling all the balls, like I like to think of every working mom as just like a ninja, but we're operating from a place of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And so when you think about the stress responses that we have in our body, we we have a just low level buzzing secretion of cortisol in our bodies all the time. But I think that what I like to really teach my clients and what I help my clients see is that this inner critic was born out of love. She is not really there to harm us. Our primitive brain is not there to like try to defeat us, or it's not a voice we ever have to battle. And this is really the switch I like to see my clients flip. We have decades of trying to battle and fix our inner critic. And what I want to share with, especially with your audience, especially for all of the working women out there, is that this inner critic was born because she has thought this was the best way. She thought that the stick in hand, the scold, the blame, the judging, the activated nervous system was the best way to get you to reach your goals and reach your results. And it just isn't, which we can see so much time and time again. And what we get to do together is change your relationship with that inner monologue. What is she like actually needing? If we heard her, what is she actually needing? How can we give it to her so she can put the stick down?
So I hear a lot in there
Yeah.
about comparison.
Yeah.
I hear a lot about not only comparing yourself to other people who are maybe in your same circles,
Yeah.
in your profession or in your friend group,
Yeah.
or out there on social media. I, I hear us comparing ourselves to other people, but also comparing ourselves to a version of ourselves that
Yeah.
maybe we've created
Yeah.
that is not realistic, not attainable.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, what happens is I think we naturally, humans, are striving for more. I think women and working women we want more. And as we should, as we all deserve, as all women deserve to have, more is sometimes just better and everyone deserves it. But I think what we start to do is we attach a lot of meaning to what that looks like.
Mhm.
And I think that the comparison is kind of this natural, it's like going back to that primitive brain that I need to, if I don't run faster and if I don't run harder, I'm going to get left behind. The herd is going to surpass me. It makes so much sense. Our primitive brain like kicks up the fight flight.
Yeah.
It makes so much sense that our inner critic is like holding the stick, like, let's get moving, girl. Like we have to run faster. And really all that's doing is fatiguing us. It's creating more overwhelm. It's creating just like, yeah, and the way that I like to really think about this is when our brain is activated in that way, we're not accessing what I like to call our inner brilliance. That to me is healing that inner critic, is you get to access that inner brilliance that can just go get more.
So you're saying that we're not trying to shut off this inner critic. We're
Yeah, I'm saying
trying to learn from her
I'm saying
and
we have a very combative relationship with her.
okay.
So like this inner critic who says like, you're not working hard enough, you're not doing enough, I can't believe you failed, or you didn't get the promotion, or you didn't lose the weight. She thinks, because she's been cultivated for decades, like that's useful. It's useful for her to talk to you in that tone and tenor because she thinks then you're going to get motivated. If she scolds you hard enough, then you'll work harder, then you'll work better. And in fact, what we're doing is we're just really releasing this like constant cortisol, constant
Mhm.
overwhelm, constant stress, which prevents us from acting from our like greatest brilliance if she wasn't allowing our primitive brain to just like be on fire all the time.
So how, this might be the $1 million question that
Yeah.
you ultimately are going to reveal the answer.
Yeah.
How do we turn her from a critic into a champion or a cheerleader or
Yeah.
somebody who
Yeah.
works for us instead of works against us?
Yeah. I think it really starts with hearing her, like starting to pay attention to what the inner monologue actually is. And instead of, I think what we first do when we hear the inner scold, we want to like fix it, solve it, numb it. That's why we overeat, overdrink, overwork. We're trying to combat the inner critic. And I think that the first step is acknowledging her. Like, I hear you. I love you. Like, thank you for having the stick in hand. We don't need you to hold the stick anymore. I've got it now. And like really letting her relax, like letting your nervous system relax. It takes, I think, an intentional way of speaking to yourself. And I think that that takes coaching and practice for sure.
What's crazy is, because I read about all of my guests.
Yeah.
Most of my guests, I've listened to your podcast or your interviews
Yeah.
or heard,
Yeah.
kind of your philosophy in the past. And
Yeah.
when I was reading about your approach,
Yeah.
and you hear the word inner critic, I really kind of only saw the word critic. And
Yeah.
when you describe it the way you just did,
Mm-hmm.
in my mind, there
Yeah.
was a shift from, and almost like a realization just
Yeah.
now, five seconds ago,
Yeah.
that the world is not looking at me, criticizing me,
No.
that it's not my husband or my family members or the other moms at, gymnastics. It's
Yeah.
not my patients or my colleagues who are kind of moving alongside of me in the same lane
Yes.
or in another capacity in healthcare. It's not my boss who's
Right.
looking at me critically. That is really just me.
It's really just you. And
Holy
you know what I
shit.
think this is so powerful
Yeah.
is when we get to recognize like, that that person gave me side eye or, like my partner like spoke to me in a certain way or my boss or I didn't get something, that we are the ones, that inner monologue that is really the ones criticizing ourselves or judging ourselves or blaming ourselves. And there was a time in our life that it was useful. It's why she was born and cultivated. It's because like there was some value at some point.
Yeah.
And possibly now for working moms, like she just doesn't serve much purpose anymore.
Yeah. Like, was she the driving force that led me to success in my career?
She might have, right? Like there might have been parts of her, like when I think about
Yeah.
like medical school, absolutely, right? Like medical school
Yeah.
or residency, like intern year, I can think about like, you start OBGYN residency as an intern. And I remember thinking like, there's a whoa factor. I want to
Mm-hmm.
perform well. I want to do well. I want to work hard. And here we are like doing all of these crazy hard shifts. And of course, the inner critic, like you better work harder. You have to impress the attendant. You have to
Yes.
impress the attending. You want to get all the gold stars and like all of
Right.
the praise and of course, right? She served me well in some way. She just may not serve me very well anymore.
You use the word, when I think of, you use the word praise, and I almost think
Yeah.
of like, you know, our ability or lack of ability to
Yeah.
receive praise.
Mm-hmm.
And, because people will
Yeah.
compliment me on,
Yeah.
I did a good job at
Yeah.
something, or, my husband will tell me what a good mom I am or whatever.
Yeah.
And my immediate reaction always is to deflect that praise.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anytime
Yeah.
anyone tells me I've done a good job at anything, my
Mm.
immediate reaction is to deflect
Yeah.
that praise. And is
Yeah.
that, I sometimes like, we're told
Yeah.
we don't take compliments well, we don't take praise well,
Mm.
but that's just seems to be, based on what you're saying, another way, another
Yeah.
kind of mind trick. Like we
Yeah.
are deflecting the praise
Yeah.
because that inner critic is
Yeah.
telling us that we're not worthy of it.
Yes. Like you better keep working harder. Like don't let, I think what I see commonly, especially with my clients, is like they think that if they allow the praise in, like imagine if you like actually opened your heart and like really let it in, like
Yes.
joyously letting it in, that we think we're going to get lazy. We think we're going to get like, we're not going to work hard enough. If we like allowed ourselves the gift of really feeling enough, of truly feeling content, solid, ready. Somehow our brain has connected that with, that means we're going to get lazy and we're not going to like go be rock stars in our life. And that's the mistruth. That's the mistruth that we tell ourselves. And I think that takes like kind of an unlearning.
So the constant push, the constant kind of negative self-talk that we've utilized as a mechanism to help drive us forward, paired with the deflecting of any positive reward that we get from outside, can really sink us to that can completely, I can completely understand how that can become a stressor.
Yeah. It's like running on a treadmill. Like the visual I just got when you said that, it's like, imagine that you just keep running on this treadmill, but there's like no end. There's no like actual end to it. It's like the running to-do list.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as the end of a to-do list. There's just more to-dos, right? So if you're on that constantly, you never give yourself the gift of like, yes, I'm doing amazing.
Yes.
Look at me go. Like, hell yeah.
And we are doing really well. We are managing it all. We are giving of ourselves to our work and our families, and we wear all the hats. And there are some days where we don't do it well. In reality, we don't do it well 100% of the time. But for the most part, we are doing a good job, and we're just not telling ourselves that, or we're just not allowing ourselves to believe that, or we're not allowing ourselves to hear other people tell us that.
And so we end up just spending our whole life running on a treadmill, which is why I think that your amazing listeners are probably they resonate with what you're saying, is because they know they don't want that anymore.
Yes.
Like you don't want to just be running your whole life on a treadmill, because what's the point of that?
Yes. But you also can't really get off until you acknowledge that that exists, and that that's a barrier that's keeping us from understanding our greatness and understanding our potential and reaching that potential. What?
Running farther or faster or longer on the treadmill will never make you feel enough. It will never make you be whole or complete or worthy. Those are two totally separate things. And what I have found with my clients is when you learn the skill of healing this critic, loving on her deeply in a way that maybe we have never done, accessing your inner brilliance, letting in that whole worthy, complete love, you will just happen to run farther, faster, and longer on the treadmill also. Like it just becomes so much more available because you're fueling yourself with the most delicious energy. It's way better than stick in hand.
And that comes from inside of you.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't come from a reward system that is external to us.
Oh yeah. How risky is it if we are relying on the outside fuel, like the gold star, the A+ or the promotion to fuel us? How risky is it?
It's killing us.
If that goes away, what, immediately my fuel goes away?
Yeah.
No, there's like such a better way. We don't have to ever rely on that for fuel, ever.
So it's interesting because like you and like many of the people listening, I'm a mom. And there was I had written a post a long time ago. I was having a particularly awful day. And my kids, I don't really cry at all ever in general, but
I only cry angry tears. I don't know if this is the thing. When I get really angry, it comes out of my eyeballs. Keep going.
I not only do I not usually cry, but I almost never cry in front of my children. And that's not like an intentional thing. It just, I don't know. So they saw me really upset. And when they have seen me cry, it's usually happy tears. So they thought I was like excited about something or happy about something. And I was having a really, low moment where I just broke down and I couldn't help it. There was no stopping it. And I was tearful in front of my kids. And they were kind of like, initially thought I was happy and then realized that I was not. And they were, of course, curious as to what was wrong. They were young. They were younger at the time. And, I explained to them I was having a bad day. And, sometimes that my emotions overwhelmed me. And then I just was really, all of the things. I was frustrated. I was sad. I was angry. And of course they were asking at what, and there wasn't anything in particular. It was just a whole, mush of everything.
Yeah.
And so they were like asking what they could do, how could they make me feel better? And I asked them, like I said to them, how would you describe me to your friends or to someone who didn't know me? Like you would say, my mom is.
Mm.
And don't ask me where that came from or I wasn't like what I was looking for, what I was trying to get at. I don't know where it came from, but what they said about me were adjectives and terms that anyone would want to be described as.
Mm.
Like they described me as funny and
Oh.
adventurous. The little one called me a queen of everything.
That's my favorite.
a phrase I use all the time.
Oh, of course you are a queen of everything. Yes.
And they went on and on. They had all these beautiful things to say. Their eyes were bright and they were like excited to tell me how wonderful they thought I was.
Yeah.
And in that, obviously I was like now weeping tears of like joy and happiness and accomplishment that, my children feel this way about me. But, children speak so freely. And I thought to myself, that is the way anybody would want to be described. And that is truly how they feel about me. They weren't, blowing smoke.
Oh, they can't. Children, they say it the way it is.
And so I thought to myself, if I could only think of myself and see myself the way my children see me, like a hero, I was a freaking hero to them. Yeah. And I thought, like, why can't I think of myself like that? This is real true monologue that I had. Why can't why don't I see myself like that? Why do I always see myself as not giving them enough, not giving my career enough, not looking good enough, not working hard, all of those things. And in that experience, for a brief time, I felt like I wanted to learn self-love. I felt like I wanted to, for once, take the positive feedback, take the compliments, keep them and hold them. But still, even then, I didn't feel like it was coming from me. I felt that was an external thing that I wanted to embody. I want to continue to be good for them. And I want them to continue to look at me that way.
What I wonder with like even something like that, when you imagine like that, those moments when you feel like in the lowest of the low, like all of the emotions are just like there. I think what we do is we feel that the terrible, the terrible, most crappiest emotions. And then we have this like subconscious thought, like this is a problem. Like I'm so upset and I'm so sad or frustrated. And we somehow attach that emotion with like our humanness. Rather than, I think what we have this invitation to do as we heal that monologue and heal ourselves is I can feel the crappiest of the low and it's totally separate from me.
Yeah.
I am just this amazing human, this like working mama, ninja rock star, and I feel like crap. And they're just two totally separate things. I can just, I think it's just like, it's almost like I get to think of the space I just opened up to allow for love to be there too. I can feel the crap. It's not a problem because it means nothing about me as just this ninja human.
Yeah. Just because I feel something external weighing on me doesn't define, I'm not the piece of crap that I'm experiencing.
No. I can feel like crap. It doesn't mean I am crap.
Yeah.
It's just like such a difference. And I think we identify so closely when we feel something, we think we are that thing. We're not.
Yes.
We're just feeling it.
Yes. Someone recently kind of walked me through identifying what you're feeling, like giving it a name.
Yeah.
Dr. Carly Crew, she's incredible. She's a Canadian women's and mental health professional. She's amazing. She just talked about like describing what you're feeling, giving it a name, and it's something that's out there that does not have to be who you are. It's just something that you're going through or something that you're feeling, but making it something that's external to yourself allows you to put it somewhere else.
Yeah.
If you don't feel like it's who you are or what you're made of, then you're going to
also just gives it permission. It's like, it's like you give the emotion permission to come and go. And, you're like here to like along for the ride. And here's the other thing I think working women need to know is that they're so capable of all of it.
Yeah.
We tell ourselves like, I can't handle it anymore. It's like too much. It's too hard. That's all crap too.
Totally capable. I mean, it's really like the mindset of it all is really overwhelming. It's really overwhelming to think about. So I just want to ask you, because you say all these great things and you put our self-awareness, our self-image in a perspective of what it actually is and how we should actually approach it. But what are the actual, like, how do we actually do it? How do we actually heal that inner critic? How do you heal your relationship with it? Do you say, I am, I think of that movie where it's like, I am great, I am wonderful, everybody loves me. I don't remember the movie, but
I mean, I think that, I think if that resonates with you, then go for it. But to me, I think it's a lot, it's much more subtle than that. I think it really starts with, like a willingness first, that you actually want to acknowledge and recognize her voice, and you're done trying to fix her, solve her, numb her with all of the ways that we have brilliantly come up with. And I think after that, starting to listen to her and understanding that she has been there for decades trying to serve us. And like actually telling yourself that, like, I hear you. Thank you for loving me. It's like, it's almost like, even this might be taking it really far for your audience, but like, I apologize that I have not been hearing you. And I apologize that you've needed a stick to get my attention. You can put the stick down. I'm here now. And like actually offering that to yourself. It's like, you're not actually talking to your inner critic. You're just talking to an inner monologue that has a critical tone and tenor, because we have not been listening.
Yeah. So just being open to hearing the thoughts, acknowledging that they're there, and maybe trying to understand which ones serve you in a positive way.
Coaching does, right? Like the whole like, I think the whole intention and magic of coaching is that we get to have a safe space where we can hear her voice and we can explore what she's trying to tell us and decide with just like love and attention, like, what do I want to do with this now? We have so much agency over our thinking. We just don't realize that we have. And that's, I think, where like the coaching space is so valuable.
Yeah. And so this inner critic gets in the way of our ability to thrive in so many ways. But specifically, if you're working on like a specific goal, or maybe, and it's not just, improving your self-esteem or improving your confidence or your self-image. Like specifically, this can help you achieve the things that you want to achieve, right?
I think of, the way that I like to think about it is the inner critic is here to help us survive. We don't want to just survive. We want to thrive. I think that's what working women want. They don't want to just be in survival mode. That's where the stress response is coming from. It's like a survival mechanism. And what we're really exploring is like, what if we could offer safety? I'm safe. I'm totally okay. Like, I'm ready to start thriving. I think that's the space of taking it to the next level.
But people are going to hear you and think you're crazy. They're going to be like, oh, I'm supposed to stand in my kitchen and be like, I'm ready to thrive now. Okay. And it's a very intimate.
Oh, it is.
And frightening thought.
It's vulnerable. It's vulnerable. It's very vulnerable.
To stand there and maybe look in the mirror or, put my hands on my own body and talk to myself, give myself love, give myself approval, acceptance, permission, whatever. This is a very frightening, kind of concept.
You know what I think, what I imagine feels a lot more comforting is, you imagine the moment that you feel like the sting of disappointment. It's like sharp, it feels terrible. For you to put a hand on your heart and really just say, I'm okay right now. And deeply believe it. Really, all that does is create safety. So it doesn't have to actually be scary. It gets to create more safety through the sting of whatever emotion you're experiencing. That's how you relax your nervous system, how you get out of a stress response, how you stop your adrenal glands from like squeezing out all the cortisol and like
Yeah.
driving your life. It just starts with you reminding yourself, I'm so okay right now. Really. And like you have to believe it.
Yeah. Yeah. I just imagine, I was laughing because I imagine myself giving myself so much permission and so much praise that, I went completely the opposite direction and I got nothing done. I'm just like,
see, this is the thing, right? This is what we believe. We really believe like if I offered myself, like I'm okay,
yeah,
I'm going to be like just sitting on the couch and not doing anything.
useless.
And what I really have seen this happen time and time again, when we offer ourselves like complete safety, I have so much more bandwidth. I get more done in half the time because of that. I'm not weighing myself down with stress and heaviness and overwhelm. It's like, it just doesn't have to be a part of the story.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm slow to respond to some of your comments because it's just heavy stuff.
Yeah.
It's heavy stuff. And it's, approaching the chronic stress response system from a different perspective. We talk a lot about, our breath and meditating and journaling and self-care in ways that change our nervous system.
Yes.
To help us heal, to help us go forward with conviction and purpose and energy and enthusiasm.
Yeah.
And to be primarily in the rest and relax, response, and or at least teach ourselves how to get there.
Yeah.
And so we talk about those internal and external stressors and the stress activation system kind of in terms of how we can get it to calm down.
Yeah.
But I've never talked about reducing stress, kind of normalizing or managing the stress activation system using mindset.
Yeah.
That's like a new concept. That's a new one for me.
Safety, right? Like it's almost like I can just show myself and show my brilliant brain, listen, there's no lion outside the cave. You didn't get the promotion or you like didn't get the A+ or the gold star. I promise you there's no lion outside the cave. You're like still okay.
Yeah.
It is way more effective to combine that with all of the amazing tools like breath work and journaling and meditation.
Yes.
To start with the foundation that I am safe right now.
Yes. So just from a ground level, being safe and being aware is different than being happy and different than thriving. Right?
Yeah.
Kind of like I'm safe, I am okay. It's kind of like a basic, like entry level.
Oh yeah. Well, what do you think makes space for happiness to come in? You were saying like you want to like take in praise or take in joy or delight or anything delicious in the world. Yeah. Really to feel it in your body.
Okay.
I'd like to think about like safety and just like that is like opening the door. It's like, oh, I'm safe to welcome all of it.
Yeah. So when the world seems so wild and untamable and everything seems to be going wrong, or the stress, controlling the stress and the amount of stressors that you have, it seems impossible. The challenge is insurmountable. Yeah. How do you start? Like, how do you tell the woman who is at her lowest right now? Yes, she's alive. Yes, she's safe. She's not in any physical harm. Yeah. But how do you tell her to start? Yeah. Like how do you tell her to start? Because she's not going to believe you that everything is okay and that she can thrive and feel juicy goodness. She's not going to hear that or believe that.
Yeah. I think that she has to start by first really knowing for herself, does she feel safe? Does she feel like there's no way to start thriving unless you believe that you are surviving? And surviving in a way where you're not having to constantly be running to survive. Yeah. You can't start thriving unless you've built that as a foundation.
Yeah. And so many people feel that way just in their regular lives. Forget about like the added stress, but like just our regular lives feel stressful.
Yeah. And I think that that's the beauty that, the the most brilliant thing about humans, which no other species has the amazing privilege of being able to do, is to think about our thinking.
Mhm.
We can have thoughts about our thoughts. And that is, I think, a tool we underutilize. We like think that these thousands of thoughts per day just come and go. Our stories are just like, that's who we are,
Mhm.
but we get to choose our stories. So
Mhm.
even that working mom who's like feeling all the things and all of the stressors of her life, how does she want, like given exactly what is happening, nothing is changing, how does she want to think about those things
Yeah.
that will up level her life's experience?
Right.
Right? It's like just the way we choose to tell the story.
Yeah. Wow. As you're speaking, I'm thinking about body image. And
Mm-hmm.
I just keep thinking about that because
Yeah.
I don't know a single woman,
Yeah.
maybe I can think of one or two,
Yeah.
and that's probably not even accurate, who doesn't have an inner battle with her body image.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to think about how to apply that to how you look and how you present yourself to the
Mm-hmm.
world, and how we're never
Yeah.
happy with how we look. We're never
Yeah.
satisfied with the
Yeah.
container that we're in. You know,
Yeah.
it could be tanner, it could be thinner,
Right.
it could be a
Right.
different
Yeah.
race, it could be,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
um, so how does, because that's a really, that's almost like, you know, you're like how you physically are represent yourself to the world is almost like the first thing that everybody sees.
Yeah. Well, I think that
And
even a lot of those thoughts that you were just talking about they've been programmed by the patriarchy. All of these thoughts that you're taught, like, like that I should be tanner or thinner or
yeah,
whatever our physical appearance should be has been programmed into us. And I think
yeah,
that, I mean, and this is especially like this is coming from a weight loss coach, right?
yeah,
So for me, a lot of what I like to start with is I just have this body. And like we can just like take all the labels and push them off the table.
yeah.
We can like notice like tanner, thinner, and just knowing that that's all been programmed into us, and we can decide what would feel ideal for our body. This like
Mhm.
forever home that we're going to be with forever. What do we want for her? And
Yeah,
then like whether that's thinner or tanner or leaner or stronger, like each of our definitions are totally different.
yeah,
We just get to decide what would feel ideal for this body.
yeah.
We just get to kind of decide from there.
But that's not going to change the standard. It's not going to
No,
change the way people are perceiving you.
no.
You feel that, you know, we tell ourselves that people think we're overweight or think that we're
Mm-hmm.
not right in whatever way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
But that's real. We know that
Yeah,
people are judging us everywhere we go.
yeah,
So that's not going to go away. So how do you reconcile with the fact that you can have these thoughts about what you want for your body, how you want to
yeah,
look and feel?
yeah.
How do you reconcile that with the fact that no matter what
Yes,
you think is
yes,
going to be different from what
yes.
society says or what the, you know,
Right.
internet says or
Well,
what?
like people will say things and do things and have whatever thoughts they want to have because they're also just like free agents of the world, like
Mhm.
you and me.
Yeah.
The trouble is we start to agree with them. So they judge us or they like
Mhm.
think we should be a certain way. And there's a small little part that's like maybe they're right.
Yeah.
That's what we have control over. That's what we get to just explore and decide whether we want to agree anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of crazy because, you know, you look at your children, and you, we want the world to receive them
Mm-hmm.
as they are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't necessarily want the same for ourselves,
Yeah.
you know, but we want the world to be kind to them. We want
Oh,
the world to be gentle with them, and we want people to be
yes.
nice to them.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I find myself doing things like, um, you know, trying to make sure that they have trendy clothes,
Mm.
make sure that they are, you know, are healthy,
Yeah. Yeah.
and make sure that they're active,
Right.
you know, so that they can run the mile in gym
Right.
class, you know, so
Right.
that they don't, so that they're not in a position for other
Mm.
people to criticize them.
Mm.
They're not perfect, you know, of course, no one's
Yes.
perfect,
Yes.
but
Yes.
especially my girls, as they get older, I worry so deeply that the they are not going to see their own beauty. And it's crazy because I don't see mine, you
Mm.
know, but I worry that they're not going to
Yeah.
see their own worth and their own value and their own beauty.
Yeah.
And that they're going to succumb to all the things that I succumb to.
Right. And this is like the modeling, right? Like we get to, like you're talking about your children. This is like one of the biggest areas of work for me personally was with my 6-year-old son.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a special flavor. Let's just put it like that. And there were years that I would just spend wanting things to be different for him, wanting him to be behaved differently or act differently, and like all of those things for the exact reasons that you're describing. Like I wanted to fit in with the other, with his friends and with his peers. And what I realized is the perspective that I had was blinding me from seeing him the way he was.
Yeah.
And I think one of my biggest works was actually just letting him be his quirky self.
Yeah.
I mean, I could put him in whatever clothes and his like mannerisms would still be his mannerisms.
Yeah.
Right. And so really I had to first really make a lot of space for like how that's so perfect because it's him.
Yeah.
And then what's so fascinating is he started to, I think, get that from me. And just like on his own, he's kind of figured out his own footing. Yeah. It's like he sees that he is perfect the way he is.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be a certain way to fit in. I'm sure we're going to go through phases like again and again as we do, but it's really the most beautiful thing.
But you still want the world to be nice to him. And you still
like I have wanted that, but to be honest, I don't anymore. I'm okay. And things that, I mean, let me tell you, there's some like not nice kids. And my work with him and for me also like as his mom is instead of me focusing on like those kids being nice to him, I really bring it back to like there might be kids that are not nice and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like what do you think of you?
Yeah. And
so I stopped spending time on the world needing to be nice to him. And I would rather him be nice to himself.
Yeah.
And that's been a hard lesson for him.
That's beautiful.
But that I think that's been hard for all of us. I think for all of us humans.
Yeah. It's so interesting that we frame this conversation because you just said in the very beginning, this, inner critic has developed in us adults as decades ago.
Yep.
And then we use the frame of reference that we have because we didn't see it when we were going through it, but we're seeing it building in our children as like in real time as it's happening.
Yeah.
And you as you were speaking, it reminded me of, kind of the words we use, the things that we talk about, the emotions that we prioritize, the way we approach kind of our conversations, and in trying to give them self, the ability to love themselves and trying to build their self-confidence and their self-esteem, let them be exactly who they are without trying, without trying to change them. We've made a very conscious effort in our house. We don't use the word diet. We talk about what you're eating, not diet. We praise their effort and not their natural abilities. Because if their natural abilities someday is not there anymore, their self-worth is entirely attached to an ability.
Gold stars.
Exactly. Or, their appearance. We never talk about bodies in our family. I don't praise my children's bodies. I don't criticize them because I don't want anybody to even talk about them. In fact, when my kids get compliments about their appearance, my standard response is, she's such a wonderful child. She's such a kind human, because the default, the reflex is to say that child is beautiful, that child is talented, the child, and
this is like the programming that we get from like literally 2 years old.
And that's stuff they have no control over.
No.
But when you praise them, when you praise them for their for their effort or for doing something nice or for being, kind, for overcoming a challenge. That's something that they can do and work at.
Oh yeah.
They have control over.
Oh yeah.
But the same thing is not true in my mind.
This idea of like the world can hurt, like you don't want the world to hurt you. I think it kind of, it's like really, this is part of the language, like, you're saying you don't use certain, like, talk about bodies.
I
think for us, whenever in school a lot, it's like, oh, so-and-so hurt your feelings or so-and-so did this to you.
Mhm.
I think that what I find to be really valuable is the world can never actually hurt your feelings.
Mm.
Like only you can hurt your own feelings.
Yeah.
It's like, the world is just going to be doing what it's doing. And then you get to decide what you want to make it mean.
Yeah. And in the same breath, like
Yeah.
as I'm talking about appearance and image and not
Yeah.
focusing on that, every time I walk by the mirror, I'm like, ugh,
Yeah.
every time.
Yeah.
It's not fair that
Mm.
I give that gift to them, or that I am trying to teach
Yeah.
them how to do
Yeah.
something that I can't do myself.
Yeah. You could just like, hey, body.
How you doing?
Let me tell you, like after having kids, our bodies look different.
Yeah.
You could be at whatever weight, it doesn't matter. Like,
Yeah.
I think that I mean, for me, like in my whole journey, I lost 60 pounds and I still had an inner critic. I still have like, oh, look at this, look at that, which means that the number on the scale or how our body physically looks is nothing to do with what we tell ourselves when we walk by the mirror.
Yes. Yeah. We'll never be enough. We'll never be,
Yeah. Unless we just decide we are.
Yeah.
That's just
Wow.
perfect. That's just enough.
I mean, I feel like we have, it's, we're in a position, that is, I feel grateful that we're in a position to talk about this.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like this is exclusive to people who can go to a life coach, or, this is mindset work that everyone should have access to.
Oh yeah.
And can, I think, have the potential to heal so much pain.
Yeah. Which is what your podcast does, right? It's like giving this gift for women to see on a like regular basis that this is something that they have access to. They have access to their brains every minute of every day.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
You don't have to earn it.
The conditioning that we have experienced from everyone, from people, from the media, from our bosses and our coworkers, and
it's why the inner critic is so strong.
It really is.
She's really like, it's deep in there. It's decades old.
Yeah. What happened when there was no mirrors? There was no media. There was no do people just love themselves? People just think they were like the best thing ever.
I mean, maybe, right? It's like, it's one of those things that I think it's gotten intense, and, we have agency over it.
That's, I think, the take home point.
Yeah.
Of all of it.
Absolutely.
You have a website, the Unstoppable Mom Brain.
That's right.
Yeah. Can you tell my friends who are listening how they can learn more from you, work with you, and get a piece of all of this wonderful coaching that you have to offer?
Yeah, I coach working moms to reach their ideal weight with more joy, simplicity, and ease. And I'm doing it, for me, really, it's more this work that we've been talking about, to heal that voice, to heal that inner monologue, and like help us access our inner brilliance. Truly, that is how you reach your ideal weight with joy. Like, get away from all the protocols and logging of the points and counting of the calories. Like, that's, I don't know. I feel like that's like a hard way to be forever. But I'm on Instagram, on Facebook. You can find me.
And it's Unstoppable Mom Brain.
Yeah, the Unstoppable Mom Brain on Instagram is where I'm probably the most active. I do a lot of chit chats and all that fun stuff.
If you are listening, I really want you to go back and watch the video of this, because you'll see in my facial expressions kind of really how shocked I am to have had this conversation go in that direction. You think you're going to talk about like your inner critic.
We went in a totally different direction than you were planning.
I just wasn't expecting such an impact. I wasn't really expecting to understand those words and what they mean, and how much control they have over our minds and our mindset, and how much they limit our potential.
Yeah.
And so I think it's going to be funny for me to watch back to see, how calm and confident you are in what you're saying, and how absolutely blown away I am by what you're saying. So I just really appreciate you opening my eyes.
This
And
is like this is truly, I think, women. If there's one thing I want every woman to know is that they deserve way more than they think. And it truly starts with the monologue that they are like the real in their mind. They deserve everything. They don't have to earn anything ever again. They've worked a lifetime's worth. That's it.
it's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
I adore the work you're doing. I can't wait to learn more from you. I hope that you will come back.
Oh, yeah.
And
this was such good fun. I love it. And I love sharing this.
It
This
really
is
was. All of my love and Jersey love to you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
I will talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.